Hello guys, today we're going to continue the build of our, I think it's 1/18 scale truck. It's a WPL models and it's a C24K, and this one was sent in to us by Banggood. And in the last video we got our whole sort of drivetrain and all of that end of the things set up. So what we're going to do now is work on all our different body panels and get it looking like a truck, and then we'll be able to wire it up and test it out. So in the last video we done steps is it 1 to 5, and now we've 6, 7 and 8 to do, and that should be it finished. So I don't think this will be too difficult. I'm pretty sure everything just snaps in together, and I don't think any glue is required, so it should be fairly straightforward. But until we get trying it, it's very hard to tell with these kind of builds, so let's get started and see how we get on. Okay, so now that I have all the pieces kind of assembled, I can see how much space we have for the electronics. So if we look in there, there's not really much space underneath the, well, between the chassis rails, we'll say, on the top, or even at the back. There is a little bit of space, but if we look at this part where they call it the battery box, so there's miles of space in here. So that's where we need to run our wire into. So with that in mind, I am going to go back and I'm going to sort out our dodgy servo in here that's kind of floating around, and we'll wire the motor, and we'll make all the wires long enough that they can come up and go in through this slot here, and then we'll have loads of space when it comes to wiring the receiver and everything later on. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I took off that servo cover again, and just to remind you, the problem we have is that the servo is just kind of floating around there. There's nothing holding it in, so I'm going to fix that in place. And the reason for that is this was clearly it wasn't designed to have a servo. It looks like this probably this all these plastic parts that were probably for an RC car that came as one unit probably didn't have this chassis. It was probably just like a motor driving a rear wheel or something, didn't have the transfer case and the four-wheel drive and everything. But you can see here that it didn't have a servo. It probably had a gearbox with one of those little screw things that adjusts the alignment of the steering wheel, or of the steering. So, you know, it wasn't designed to house this servo, I don't think, anyway. But it seems like a good reuse of all these components, in my opinion. They've modified it slightly, they've made a few new parts, and what you're getting looks to be, well, in my opinion, a fairly good RC car. So let's just make a few little changes. I'll figure out some way to hold this in place, and I think I'll drill a hole through the back of here and run this wire directly out and into our little enclosure here, because I don't think there's any point in trying to run it all the way around there. It doesn't make sense. Just a hole straight through there, straight from the back of the servo into this place. Job done. Okay, well, we'll try and keep things simple. There's a couple of screw holes here that probably used to hold the gearbox or something like that on, so we'll use them to hold on our servo. And I just made a little copper brace to go across it. I soldered the ends, but you don't really need to do that. I just thought it might make it a little bit stronger, and basically all I'm going to do is put that in there and screw it in with some of the, well, the many screws that we have available to us from our kit. So let's try that now and see how strong it ends up. Okay, well, that seems to be secured in there, and there doesn't seem to be any issue with our servo. Looks to be plenty solid now. So next thing I'll do is just drill the hole to let the wire through the back of this case, and that should be that. Before I close the servo housing back up, we were given these LEDs. They don't seem to be mentioned in the instructions, so what I'm thinking is I'll mount them in there. I'll maybe take the wire in along here, cut it here, put in the resistor, then extend this wire a little bit so that it's coming out roughly around here where the battery box thing is, because at the minute it's just a little bit short. So I think that's what I'll do with that, and I'm going to do that now. Okay, so here's the resistor spliced in there. I put 110 ohm resistor. 1k resistor came with the kit, but I thought it was a little bit dim, so I just added that in. Still, it's not hugely bright, but I guess it's probably the LEDs, but that leaves it at about 10 milliohms, so not bad. So I'll just put the heat shrink on that and close it all up and bring our wires out, and then we'll continue with the build. I don't know if it was clear in the last video, but to make this little connection here, on this connecting rod I put in one of these little rubber mounting points, and then put the little steel piece that goes inside it into that. Then I put the servo mounting screw through and into the arm of the servo. So that's how I done that little connection, just to give it a little bit of play on that rubber bushing to kind of make it a little bit smoother, or I'm hoping it makes it a little bit smoother anyway. Okay, so last thing to do before we put the body on top of the whole chassis here is just to put a wire for the motor. So I'll add that in, but I have a bunch of 100 nanofarad capacitors, so in the interest of trying to reduce noise a little bit, I'm going to put one across, one between each terminal and the case, and then one between each terminal. So hopefully that'll help to reduce noise a little bit. Okay, so there's the motor wired up with those few suppression caps, and it seems to be running fine. So now we can finally get on with assembling the rest of the body. There's two screws, one there and one there, which are pretty hard to get at, so I had to do them off camera. But that's the last two screws for holding on the body. So this thing just clips on here, I think. So there we go. When we get our electronics in there, we'll be able to plug in and out the battery from there. Okay, so that's all the bodywork assembled. We just have to finish off with the cover for the rear, but I won't do that until we have the wiring done in this little enclosure in here. So that'll be all for this video. Let's just check that it's clearly we have a problem here. It looks like something wrong with our gearing ratio, so one gearbox is driving that way and the other's driving that way. So I'll have to solve that in the next video as well. It's probably just a case of flipping the rear axle around maybe, but these things happen. So that's all that we have for this video. In the next video we'll solve that problem. We'll install the receiver and the motor drivers and all that stuff, and then put back on the little roof here, and that should be this truck pretty much ready to go. So if you liked the video, make sure and hit the thumbs up, and any comments or suggestions let me know below the video. And that's pretty much everything for today, so thanks very much for watching.